Hello, welcome to the final video for this channel of 2020. Today, I just wanted to take a step back and reflect upon all the past videos for this year. It has nothing to do with any of the board games themselves, but strictly from a filming, personal reflective standpoint. This video is not sponsored by any of the publishers. I just wanted to take a stroll down memory lane and just share the top 5 with all of you. And right before we start, I just wanted to mention that t-shirts are finally here. I worked really hard on them. There are 4 of them. They are linked down below if you want to further support this channel. And with that, let's get started with number 5. Number 5 is Monumenta. So this was by far one of my favorite videos that I did this year, strictly because of song choice and how different cuts paired really nicely with the song. Now this was also around the time when I learned how to mask for transitions. I always watch other really good filmmakers and amazing content creators and how they mask for their own videos and their own transitions. But the thing is, when they do those transitions, therefore the subjects are people and landscapes, and there's no really clear guide on how to do it for board games. So that's why for Monumenta, it was really a pivotal moment for me, at least in my own understanding, and how I can incorporate transitions into the board gaming space. I started to play around with it a little more and started to use masking for transitions like through cards and through different miniatures, and I was also using masking to match cut between miniatures as well. That was really hard for me to learn, but after that it was more so the application and how to apply these type of transitions moving forward that really pushed me. I kind of just went crazy with all this stuff in After Effects and Premiere, all the Adobe programs, just to really see what kind of effects that they have in store in their library and which ones I can manipulate and be able to use going forward. For me, it was just satisfying to look back and see how these clips paired pretty seamlessly overall as they are introducing each army one by one. Now, another big part of Monumenta was establishing a baseline. And what I mean by that is understanding a general plan and layout of how I'm going to construct board game videos going forward. So with that, every intro of a board game video, I always start with the board game box art, like the cover art, right? But then the thing is, you're always trying to differentiate between each and every board game video. So instead of just doing the same thing every single time, at least what establishing the baseline means is if you have no idea where to start, you can at least think about how you're going to start it. So if I'm always going to start out with the box art, then I can just change the way I introduce the box art with every single video. And Monumenta was a really big part for pushing me that way. But the thing is, people that started to reach out to me and other publishers that reached out to me as well, they started to identify me with one particular style. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is amazing to be able to even be recognized for something. But for me personally, I wanted to not confine myself to one particular style, which leads me on to the next video. Number 4 is Chai. So in general, my cinematic showcases, they are upbeat. They have very, very hard-hitting beats. But with Chai, I wanted to do something completely different. All my videos before were just dark and dramatic because that's my particular style. That's what I still like to do. That's still my main style now. But with Chai, I wanted to explore something different and show that I'm not limited to just this one particular thing. So what I did here was I took a white table from IKEA. Actually, it was my second board game filming table. So it's just a white table that I put in my kitchen because I figured, well, when I make tea, I make it in the kitchen. So I figured that would be the better setting anyway. And it's just all natural light. It's a bright white setting. The colors are very vibrant. It's not dreary and dark like my other videos. And everything is just soft, diffused, and bright with vibrant colors. And the funny thing is, I actually covered Chai before when it was just the base game, before it was this expansion. And looking back at it, honestly, I don't know what the heck I was doing, so I don't know. You want to see it? I'll show you. See, like what? It was dark, terrible lighting, it had really obnoxious noises for the transition sounds. They were louder than the track itself. I even had a drone shot at the end just to use a drone, so yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. But with the newer one, I think I cleaned it up a lot more. It was way less choppy. It could have been cleaner. The transitions, for sure, I could have cleaned up a lot. But overall, I think the mood was presented better. It was more lighthearted. It was more family friendly. It was more inviting. My goal here for this video was much clearer, right? It was to invite you to have a cup of tea. It was to make you want to drink tea, to make tea. And that was the whole point of Chai anyway, so I think it worked out a lot better. Now on top of that, this is when I started to understand how important sound was and sound design to making a video that much more punchy, more realistic, more just better overall. And when you pair sounds with realistic things from board games, like for example, for everything that I did in Chai, you hear all of the tea being poured into a cup, you hear the glassware, you hear the coins. So all of that just evokes much more immersive feelings, and it just looks better, sounds better, it's just better overall. One of the biggest lessons that I learned from this video was to pair sounds more intentionally and to also kind of show, mostly to myself, that I am not limited to just one type of cinematic showcase, that I can do things outside of my usual norm of moods in cinematic showcases, leading me actually to number 3.
My dear sister, forgive me. I have too long neglected my brotherly duty in allaying your concern for my welfare, though I dare say this letter may serve the opposite purpose. You may remember, Margaret, that ill-fated voyage I undertook to the pole that ended in near mutiny, and the gentleman I rescued from the ice, only to watch him perish in my cabin after unburdening his story, one M. Victor Frankenstein. I should have ended him in that moment, as Frankenstein implored me to do. But alas, I did not, and now my sympathy, nay, my cowardice, has unleashed this demon upon our world with a more horrifying intent, as Frankenstein feared would happen. For he is alive, Margaret, alive in Paris.
drastic change from Chai, right? So with Abomination, I was really happy with this one because it was my biggest storytelling video. I put together a lot of stock clips that you saw in the intro. And what was really difficult about it is that with stock clips, you're not the one filming them, right? So you can't control the movement and how the camera is panning from side to side. So it was very difficult in weaving clips together and transitioning them between generic clips. It was also hard to put effects on them, but I did put little details, like for example, for the cadaver, you can see how I labeled Victor M. Frankenstein. I started learning things called the risers, which help anticipate or build anticipation for story. I even went to the point where I had a voice actor narrate the beginning dialogue. So it was actually a big cut of a letter that you actually get from the game. I just cut it to a specific section. And then that letter, I also made a duplicate of it. And for the very first clip that I filmed myself, it was actually the part where you can see me holding a letter. And I burned a part of the letter where the narration was taking place. I burned a hole right at that spot, intentionally. And then as it opens up and as it was actually burning, it would transition into the next clip. And all of that is done with very, very specific intention. I wanted viewers to kind of feel as if Abomination himself was holding the letter, and he didn't want Margaret to have it. And that's why he's burning the letter, so she no longer can see the letter, she no longer is going to receive it, and that he's also just causing all this chaos in the city. So that's why I wanted him to be holding the letter. And I also wanted to show some weird movement like the neck crack and also leaning on the board and kind of flipping it with a reverse hand in front of the camera to like mask into the next clip. That was all done intentionally because I wanted to show like this is not a quote normal human being. This is an abomination, an amalgamation of all of these crazy things put together by this scientist. The idea was there, but obviously with an extremely low budget. For this video, I also color graded much darker, so everything is more muted and grayed. You have red lights, you also have the camera panning in to the cadaver, but then there's like this quote body bag opening scene. That was actually from my light. I just stuck my camera through the light bag and kind of just pulled it open and then have it zoom in and focus in on the cadaver on top of pairing it with some bag sounds. One game mechanism is to actually use ice cubes to freeze the body. So that's why I paired it along with that ice transition. Overall, it was just super fun to explore this darker theme for cinematic showcases. And with that, let's get to number 2. Plunder, oh my god, I had so much fun filming this one. So with Plunder, I had one major plan that I really wanted to implement, and that was doing an underwater sound effect and also filming underwater. So to do that, I actually had a fish tank that I've used. I've shown in a lot of behind the scenes photo shoots that I've done, but I had a fish tank and then I like put sand in it and then put water obviously, and then I drenched it with black ink. And then I would also put the ink as the ships were dropping in. So I really wanted to implement that technique in some kind of video, and it just worked out perfectly because Plunder, you have pirate ships, and then pirate ships are also battling each other. And as they are battling each other, they sink, right? So one loses, one is actually going to sink, and you lose it in the game. So it worked perfectly with the game mechanism, and I really wanted to showcase that in Plunder as well to give a really immersive feel to the overall video. That's the thing with a lot of my videos. I really try to thematize them and immerse you in the actual game mechanism. That's what like drives me to make all these cinematic showcases, because it's so fun. It's so fun to make all these things realistic. On top of that, I also had this storm mechanism. So in the game, you actually have a square that represents the storm that's going to be laid out on the map. So that's why I like zoomed in and punched in into a real storm without telling you, like without any words, without any kind of narration, and to just tell you like, hey, this square in the board game is an actual storm, or it's supposed to represent a storm as you're playing. There are a ton of correlative game mechanics throughout this entire video, which is why I really liked it. It was really fun storytelling, really fun matching things together. Plus, we're in California, so it was much easier to simulate that environment with an actual beach, and that setting matches the game perfectly. So now, let's finally move on to number 1. Lords of Hellas, my favorite video that I filmed this year, mostly because I spent so much time on it. This was my biggest project by far, next to the t-shirt commercial. I actually planned this one for about a year, starting in 2018. And then in fall of 2019 is when I started to film it. And then around January, February, March, right before the pandemic hit, is when I finally wrapped up all the editing and got this video out. Now, because Lords of Hellas is actually one of my favorite games of all time, because it has such an epic army-like theme, I really wanted to go all out and make whatever I could possible to match the scale of this game. I wanted to give the game justice by literally embodying a hero that you play in the game. And the story that I was trying to tell with this one to match along with the actual game was that you have a hero and you're traveling to different monuments and different gods. And not only are you obtaining a piece of armor, but you're also traveling through, all of these tumultuous, crazy problems and conflicts in order to get said piece of armor. So that's why it took place at a bunch of different locations, from like a library in LA to a beach, a hilltop, my college campus, and a bunch of other places in order to match each god's setting. Ideally with a crazy budget and like studio production quality, I would have wanted a dark stone hallway and just having actual pieces of like metal plated armor to wear as the hero is traveling through and just remembering what he's been through. He being me having a ton of fun making this video. And before we go today, I also wanted to give an honorable mention to Here to Slay. Now the reason why Here to Slay is an honorable mention, so this one I wanted to talk about the tutorial, not the cinematic showcase that I did, because this tutorial felt very good to make. It just felt very natural to me. I really liked it because of the intro and how I was finally able to put a spin on my own types of board game tutorials as I'm moving on to like the main part before I'm teaching you actually how to play. For some reason, it just felt really good to make. And not only did I enjoy the game, but I just enjoyed filming, I enjoyed editing. Everything about it was it just clicked together like a puzzle piece. So from then on, I think I started to figure out how I wanted to structure my own tutorials going forward. And that concludes the top 5 board games that I filmed this year, along with an honorable mention. Now, more importantly, I want to know which one is your favorite. Were any of these 5 your favorite? Which one was your number 1? Or maybe outside of these videos, if it was a different one that I did, which one was your favorite? I would love to know. Let me know down in the comments below. With that, Happy New Year's, stay safe, have a great holiday, and I will see you all in 2021.